Today I want to talk about the top 10 foods that help unclog your arteries. But before we get to the list, I want to walk you through the mechanisms behind it, because without understanding the bigger picture, a list like this can actually mislead you. For decades, we were told a very simple story. Certain foods clog your arteries: cream, butter, eggs, high-fat cheese, red meat. The saturated fat, the dietary cholesterol. We were told this stuff builds up inside your blood vessels, so avoid it at all costs. But is that really how it works? Here is what most people are not told. The real driver of cardiovascular disease is inflammation. This is not controversial in the research, it is well established. And when scientists actually compare these foods against markers of inflammation, they find no meaningful association. These traditional foods do not cause inflammation, so they cannot be the root cause of heart disease. Once you let go of that old way of thinking, you start seeing a different kind of list circulating online. Garlic, turmeric, pomegranate, sesame, flax, walnuts, leafy greens, all labeled as arterial superfoods that will magically clean out your blood vessels. Now, these are genuinely excellent foods, and you should absolutely eat them. But I want you to be careful about thinking of them as miracles, because that mindset is exactly what has kept us stuck for the last 50 years. That mindset is what I call the allopathic trap. We treat the symptom like it randomly attacked us out of nowhere, so we reach for a pill, a medication, or now, a superfood. And we think that treating the symptom is the whole solution, but a symptom is the result of something upstream that was not working. If we never fix that upstream problem, we are just covering it up temporarily. So before we get to the 10 foods, I want you to understand there are 3 steps to genuinely reversing arterial damage, and the order matters enormously. Step 1. Stop putting in what is causing the damage. Step 2. Add in real, whole food as your foundation. Step 3. Layer in the medicinal and targeted compounds. No superfood on earth can undo the damage if you are still feeding the fire every single day. So what is actually causing the damage? It comes down to 3 things: inflammation, oxidative stress, and damaged LDL. I want to be clear, LDL cholesterol by itself is not the villain here. Your body needs it. The problem starts when that LDL gets oxidized and damaged by inflammation. The biggest drivers of that inflammation and oxidative stress are sugar, refined grains, industrial seed oils, ultra-processed food, environmental toxins, and chronic stress. If you are still consuming those daily, no amount of turmeric is going to save you. That is step 1. Remove the fuel for the fire. Step 2 is adding in real food, both animal and plant-based, because they each bring something different to the table. Animal foods are largely neutral when it comes to inflammation, and they give your body genuine building blocks, the raw materials it needs to repair and build tissue. Plant foods bring something different: fiber, phytonutrients, and a class of compounds called polyphenols that have been shown to actually lower inflammation. Then there are the essential fats. And essential simply means your body cannot make them, you must get them from food. The core essential fatty acid is ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, an omega-3 fat. But here is the catch: what your body is really looking for is the next step down the chain, EPA and DHA, which come from fish oil. Your body can convert ALA into EPA and DHA, but that conversion is notoriously inefficient, and the poorer your metabolic health, the worse that conversion gets. If you are already metabolically healthy, you might get away with flax and other ALA sources. But if you are dealing with metabolic dysfunction, you need to get EPA and DHA directly from fish. There is also a lot of talk about the ratio between omega-3 and omega-6 fats. Both are necessary, but omega-3 tends to calm inflammation while omega-6 tends to promote it. Ideally, we want something close to a 1-to-1 or 1-to-3 ratio. But with modern diets loaded with seed oils and grain-fed meat, Most people are running a ratio closer to 20:1 in favor of omega-6, and that is strongly pro-inflammatory. Now let us get into the foods themselves. Number 1 is fatty fish. Because it checks both boxes, it gives you animal-based building blocks, and it is loaded with the omega-3 fats your body is actually looking for. Salmon, sardines, and mackerel are excellent choices. They are naturally lower in mercury and high in omega-3s. Choose wild-caught whenever you can, because wild fish eat what nature intended, while farmed fish are often raised on feed and additives designed to grow them fast for market, not to nourish you. Number 2 is any animal product that was raised naturally on land. Grass-fed beef, grass-fed butter, and dairy from grass-fed cows are generally excellent choices. I do put a small asterisk on dairy though, because the more heavily processed it is, the harder it tends to be to digest, so pay attention to how your own body responds. Fermented dairy is usually well tolerated. Pasture-raised chicken and their eggs are also fantastic, and honestly, this is the biggest mental hurdle for most people, because we were taught to fear these foods for their saturated fat and cholesterol. But remember, the real question is not whether a food has saturated fat. The real question is whether it is inflammatory, and saturated fat is chemically very stable. It does not readily react with oxygen. That stability is exactly why it does not trigger inflammation, and why clean elimination diets like Whole30 and Paleo protocols include these foods freely. Number 3 is nuts and seeds, particularly flax, chia, hemp, and walnuts, which are the richest sources of that ALA omega-3 fat. Even though conversion to EPA and DHA is limited, these are still excellent additions, especially because when you are eating more of these, you are typically eating less of something harmful. Flax, chia, and hemp are also exceptionally high in soluble fiber, which feeds your gut microbiome and supports healthy digestion. Number 4 is leafy greens, your nutritional foundation. Romaine, arugula, green leaf lettuce, kale, chard, and spinach are all low-carb, high-fiber, and nutrient-dense. If you are sensitive to oxalates, spinach in particular, cooking it down can help. Number 5 is your broader vegetable category, especially the cruciferous family: broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, radishes, and rutabaga. These contain compounds called glucosinolates that have been shown to reduce inflammation and support liver detoxification. And your liver deserves special attention here, because it is the central hub of metabolic disease. Fatty liver, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome all originate there. Anything that supports liver function is directly protecting your cardiovascular system. Round this out with bell peppers, avocado, celery, asparagus, artichoke, cucumber, eggplant, and fennel, along with a modest amount of citrus for its antioxidant content. Number 6 is polyphenol-rich foods. Polyphenols are plant compounds built around a phenolic ring structure, and they show up across hundreds of different foods. Extra virgin olive oil, flax, cloves, oregano, and cocoa are all excellent sources. Now, you will often see lists that also include dates, pomegranate, wheat, rye, soy, and red wine, and yes, those do contain polyphenols. But here is the catch: if you are trying to reverse arterial disease, you are almost certainly dealing with some degree of insulin resistance, and dates in particular are essentially concentrated sugar. Adding a polyphenol-rich food that is also loaded with sugar can cancel out the very benefit you are chasing. Choose your polyphenol sources carefully based on where your metabolic health actually stands. Once you have removed the harmful inputs and built a foundation of real food, now and only now, are you ready for targeted medicinal level support. Number 7 is herbal compounds like curcumin, resveratrol, and pine bark extract, which have well-documented anti-inflammatory properties. Fresh whole sources are always preferable when available. Turmeric root, for example. but a quality supplement is a reasonable option when fresh is not practical. Number 8 is fish oil as a supplement. Unless you are eating fish daily, most people benefit from supplementing directly with EPA and DHA, typically in a ratio around 3:2, slightly favoring EPA. EPA supports vascular health and drives most of the anti-inflammatory benefit. DHA plays a different, equally important role. It is a major structural building block of your brain and nervous tissue. When DHA is low, people often notice it shows up as stress, anxiety, and poor focus, particularly tied to frontal lobe function. Addressing DHA can support both mood and cognitive clarity, and lower stress in turn further reduces inflammation, so these effects reinforce each other. Number 9 is B vitamins, essential cofactors in your mitochondria for energy production. They also play a critical role in clearing a compound called homocysteine, which is strongly linked to cardiovascular disease. The standard reference range runs from 0 to 15, but you want to aim for well under half of that, ideally in the single digits. Clearing homocysteine efficiently requires adequate B12, B6, and folate. Some people carry a genetic variant called MTHFR that impairs this process. Roughly 30 to 40% of people in the United States carry at least one copy. If that applies to you, homocysteine can build up more easily, raising cardiovascular risk. The fix is straightforward. Methylated B vitamins support this pathway directly, and nutritional yeast is a whole food source that provides a full spectrum of B vitamins. Number 10 is enzymes. Some work in your digestive tract breaking down food. Others work systemically throughout your body. Two worth knowing about are nattokinase and lumbrokinase, both fibrinolytic enzymes, meaning they help break down excess fibrin, the protein involved in blood clot formation. This matters enormously for cardiovascular disease, and it has also become relevant with post-viral recovery, where elevated blood viscosity and clotting have been observed for months after infection. There is also emerging evidence connecting fibrin to arterial plaque itself, which suggests these enzymes may play a role in supporting plaque reduction, but only once you have already addressed the upstream drivers in steps 1 and 2. So to bring it all together, do not chase the superfood before you have stopped the damage. Remove the sugar, the seed oils, and the processed food first. Build your foundation with real, whole food, animal and plant alike, and only then layer in the targeted compounds, the omega-3s, the B vitamins, the enzymes that give your body the specific support it needs to actually heal.